going on, D?
Man, this always makes me think I need to be like on a 60s game show, just sipping on a cocktail, you know what I mean?
It's good. It's good music. It's good, like, just kind of getting into your groove. That's what we're doing right now, getting into our groove. Hey, have you, I know a little bit about you, David. We've been doing this for a while, but I'm not sure I remember what your stance is on Star Wars. Where do you land with Star Wars?
I'm in the 4 camp. I'm for Star Wars.
Okay, that's good. But like, where are you? Are you like a super fan? Are you just a regular fan?
I mean, I've grew up with Star Wars, so I don't know how super qualified I am, but of course, yeah, I've seen all of them, would watch all of them again, hope to raise my children on the lessons learned from Star Wars. So if that's a super fan, Doug, count me in.
I think that makes you about where I am. I grew up with Star Wars. Anyway,
Yeah.
Okay, we've got that out of the way. Now I have to ask you, did you watch the trailer?
Yes.
What did you think?
I sure did.
Last Jedi, are you excited?
Yeah, of course. I'm excited. I thought it looked good, man. The trailers for the last 3, so the Rogue One and then the iteration before that, they've all been good. All the trailers have been inspiring me to see the movie, so I'm excited for them.
Which is what they are supposed to do. But I feel like the Rogue One trailer, there was a lot in there that didn't end up in the movie. It was a little bit of a controversy. And I felt like they
I'm fine with that.
Okay, well, but I felt like this Last Jedi promo, even more so, felt misleading.
Like there was a lot in there.
They're pulling me they're trying to pull me in a direction, scenes that obviously are not taking place at the same time, and based on Rogue One, might not take place at all. I don't know. I'm just so down on trailers these days. I just don't.
Well, I'm not gonna watch any more. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna see. I'm not
good.
Gonna do any more
Good. You're a one
research.
trailer guy. That's me too. I don't do these like I'm gonna watch every trailer. Ruins the movie.
Well, I'll say this. So I did notice that your man Kylo Ren had some sort of facial contusion early on in the trailer, and then did not have it later on in the trailer. So I don't know if it healed. I don't know if that was, like you said, out of order.
The First Order has great plastic surgeons.
That's true.
All right, let's start this show.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
This is Locked On Hornets, your daily podcast on the Charlotte Hornets and the NBA. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Search your podcast app for Locked On to see some podcasts on the NFL, the NBA, and fantasy sports. And the big key here, Locked On, we are daily. We are week daily, Monday through Friday, in your podcast feed, keeping you up to date on the teams that you love. So if you have been listening to us for a while, maybe you want to get into Locked On Panthers, check them out. Bill Rossetti doing a great job over there. Locked On Fantasy Basketball, Locked On, hopefully Fantasy Football is coming soon, if we don't have it already. Check those out. I'm Doug Branson. We are coming to you live from the Gittimer.com studios this morning in BEA, beautiful uptown Charlotte, heart of the Queen City. I'm joined by this fresh face to my right, screen right, David Walker.
Dude, it's the last preseason game tonight, Doug. We've been searching.
Well, we have 2. Actually, it's Boston's last preseason game.
Right.
We've got 2 more.
Oh, God. Sure, why not?
Breaking some news here to David Walker. We've got a game tonight against the Boston Celtics, and then a game.
If you can't see them, do they really happen?
Okay, that's, you know what? You may have a good point, but the one on Friday against the Mavericks, if you go to Spectrum Center, you will be able to view it. It is also at home. Yeah, they have 5 preseason games. Boston has 4. So, the Hornets getting a little bit of extended preseason time, and with all of these injuries, David, they just might need it.
Yeah, okay, you're so right. In doing the Boston research, that must have seeped into my brain because it's their last game.
Yes.
Of course I knew that the Hornets have a game on Friday. Of course.
Hey, quick notes on this Boston game. We're going to preview it later on. We're also going to update you on some of these injuries, but I want to say this. If you are a member of our Patreon, if you are a member of the Nest, if you are a Buzz-a-Maniac, I've got a special ticket offer for tonight. 2 free tickets to tonight's Celtics game, lower levels. So, and it's for all levels of our Patreon subscribers. So head over to patreon.com/LOH and check that out. And if you're not, sign up right now and get that free ticket offer. All you have to do is reply to the post and you'll be entered to win. And our Let's Swarm Charlotte members, our LSC level members, get double entries into that giveaway. So get some free tickets tonight. It will be the first of many giveaways that we do here on this show. And if you're a member of our Patreon, you're going to get special advantages for those giveaways. Okay, we got an update on Nick Batum's injury yesterday. The team announcing that the torn UCL in his left elbow will not require surgery. They will not be doing surgery. The team hopes that after 6 to 8 weeks of rest and rehab, they can get Nick Batum back on the court. Now, if you go with the most conservative outlook, that would put him back on December 4th at home against the Orlando Magic, having missed 21 games. Now, when compared with the prospect of not having him for an entire season, that sounds great. But as we pointed out when we did schedule analysis, David, the first months of the Hornets' schedule, without a doubt, the toughest.
Yeah, and you don't want to have him coming in, a quarter of the way through and trying to mix in them. But, yeah, given the outlook that we thought might be the case, 20 games is almost a gift at this point. And, certainly avoiding surgery, I think, is a positive too. And they've got to be able – you hope that he can just jump back into the starting lineup. I mean, that'll be the good thing, right? Like, if that's the only mix-up, then he can just hop right back into the starting lineup. Those guys are more than used to playing with each other, of course, minus Dwight. But, you hope that feel comes back and that they can, kind of get back to normal. But, man,
there are a lot of positives to take away from this. He did get a chance to have some training camp with these guys. It didn't happen prior to training camp.
Right.
That's
and
one.
It happened well before this, right? So you're not burning season games rehab-wise. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's already going back on the track to getting healthy.
Exactly. And if you know anything about this team historically, they don't tend to rush players back. I mean, they like to get, players back when there's no, real chance of re-injury, or no, at least increased chance of re-injury. So, 6 to 8 weeks, I probably would say conservatively, 7 to 8 weeks, I think, is probably a good estimate. And that's going, but that schedule is tough, David. That's the thing I keep looking at. So those 21 games that I mentioned, so that's 8 weeks. 14 of those 21 games are against probable playoff teams. There's a 4-game road trip in November, and then 2 games against Cleveland and 2 games against San Antonio. So the Charlotte Hornets, their depth at the wing position will be more than challenged in the first part of this season, and it will once again in all probability, it will once again be on the Charlotte Hornets to perform well in the second half of the season in order to, boost their playoff positioning or get back into playoff positioning.
Which they've kind of been able to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, minus last year when they even made a run last year. So, I mean, they've typically gotten better as the season has gone on and been able to make a push. And hopefully this year with the East, they'll be able to keep pace even without Batum for those 20 or so games. And hopefully it's just those 20 or so. I think the first 2 weeks of the season are going to be huge too, because they've really got to win those games that they should win. Because you mentioned those 4 games against the Cavs and Spurs, so they need to get the wins where they can.
His backup, Jeremy Lamb, left Monday's game with groin soreness. He's listed as doubtful for this game tonight against the Celtics. Hopefully Lamb can get back on the court soon, or at least for the regular season, because he was finishing up a productive offseason that had the attention of his coaches and fans alike, and he scored 17 points, over 17 points in both of those preseason games that he was in, David. I mean, he was playing fantastically, but he has been known to kind of have these weird nagging injuries, whether it's an ankle, a foot, a groin. I mean, it just feels like it's and he's been taking care of his body. That's the strange thing.
Right.
It's just some of these players seem to be just sort of prone to these, weird nagging injuries like this.
Yeah, man. I mean, one year he stepped on a ball, right, at
Yeah,
practice and
I know.
got hurt. So, like, it's not, you can't really blame him for it. But I wouldn't expect to see him much more this preseason. The way things are going, I don't know who we're going to see, to be honest with you. But yeah, if they don't have him out there, then they've really got to figure something out. But it sounded like the other night, and this was just Clifford's like quick post game diagnosis, that he wasn't overly concerned. So hopefully they get that rest and he can be ready to go for game one, because that's something they definitely need.
And a few of you have asked, where is Travion Graham? He's still dealing with that hamstring injury that began in Orlando in Summer League. It was re-aggravated in training camp, and he simply can't get out there into camp or into one of these preseason games. It's a tough break for Graham, who looked poised to make an impact on this team and a case for guaranteeing his contract. But David, if you can't practice, there's probably some conditioning issues if he can't get out there and do all of the things that everyone else is doing. I mean, it takes a lot of work to get ready for an NBA regular season, and if that hamstring is bothering him, it's going to keep him off the court.
Yeah, that's a real unfortunate one too, because I think everybody pulls for a guy like that. And we talked about Travion before, just trying to secure another spot. And man, you're right. And when you're in that situation, you can't really afford to be dealing with injuries.
Speaking of injuries, how are you doing? You missed. You were out. You were declared out.
Surgery.
You were declared out for yesterday's show because you were getting the final. I guess it is the final step on your hand injury that you suffered in a rec league, super championship serious thing.
That's right, championship season rec league. I'd do it all over again, Doug, just for that championship.
I mean, you got to leave it all out there. You leave your entire cut your entire hand off. Leave it out there.
I left an entire finger out there, and they left, and the doctor left a pin in my broken finger, which is why I had to go back in under the knife. So if I can say anything to Nick Batum's surgery, like decision whether or not to go, given the option, if they tell him he doesn't have to, I'm thinking he's going to side with not going into surgery. It's not fun. It sucks. And I mean, me and Nick Batum are in the exact same situation right now.
Exact
high-level athletes,
right?
Trying to get back to championship form.
I think if you're Nick Batum and you've spent all summer getting ready for this NBA season, and you've really focused on your game, and you've committed yourself to this season, I think you can understand why he would choose not to have the surgery, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can understand doing anything that he can to get back out on the court. And as he mentioned in his Twitter post, it is his off hand, or it is his off elbow. It's not, and he's not throwing a baseball.
Right. Yeah, you hope some of that is accurate, though, right? Like, he was pretty humorous about it and in good Twitter spirits, I suppose. So, like, I don't know how much you can read from that, but maybe he's hopeful, right, that he can, at least he knows his body and can get back out there better than having to go through surgery, because you want to avoid that. It's not fun for
but
anyone, except for the doctors.
You're doing okay.
Oh yeah, me, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, okay.
All right, the Hornets are set to make their home preseason debut tonight against the Boston Celtics. Tip-off scheduled for 7:00 p.m. The game will be on ESPN, and of course they are playing at home, and this is exciting. We don't take enough time to just be excited. This is exciting. The preseason. I wonder if they regret. I don't know how much control they necessarily had, but I wonder how unfortunate or how much they regret having those 3 away games. With all these injuries. All these injuries. You all right? You need some coffee? You good?
I've got some coffee. You just caught me, and I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I was going to say that too. It is kind of odd that I
said, let's be excited, and you yawned. That's what you're like. Oh, preseason. Yeah.
We've almost gone through 2 weeks though, and they have not been home. And with all the injuries, it's weird. I'm sure they would have preferred to have been here, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Doug?
I don't know. I really don't know how preseason scheduling works.
Do you think they coincided that with the opening of the team store, or vice versa? Probably vice versa.
Okay. Well, there may have been some of those financial realities. Who knows?
I don't know.
I certainly don't. This will be the second. I'll look this up.
That's why you tune in.
That's right. Preseason scheduling. I think people can let us slide on that. This will be the second preseason matchup against the Boston Celtics. The Hornets opened up their preseason schedule with a loss to the Celtics 94-82 back on October 2nd. Boston will be without big man Aaron Baines, who frustrated Dwight Howard at times during their first meeting and looked like all of Australia in the shower. So no, unfortunately, we can't find no Heinsohn. I mean, there's ESPN. I don't know if Sports Boston is even going to be broadcasting the game, but unfortunately, no Aaron Baines for this one. As we said before, the Hornets will be without Nick Batum. Add to that Michael Carter-Williams and Travion Graham. Those are all definites. Jeremy Lamb is doubtful. Third-string point guard Julian Stone is questionable. Good news, though, David. Fourth-string point guard Marcus Page has been upgraded to probable. He missed the last game with an ankle sprain, so we might get a good look at Marcus Page, although TJ Williams did a great job filling in the meantime. We don't have updated probable starters, but this could be an opportunity for rookie guard Malik Monk to get a good look in the starting lineup. Would this be a positive development for the rookie?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I think anything going that direction would be good for him. You don't want to see that? I think it's preseason, Doug. I mean, you might as well, given the bodies they have out there, give him a little run, see what he can do. No? You don't want to do that?
Well, I mean, if preseason is about getting ready for the regular season, and if you think Jeremy
you asked him about his scoring, man. He's good on that.
I mean, 19 points in the last two preseason games. He had a chance in the last one to run the offense. He's certainly taken a lot of shots. Some of those shots were less than quality looks.
Sure.
If he does indeed get the start, it will be interesting to see how he holds up defensively, because Boston's going to run out Gordon Hayward at the shooting guard position, that assignment will most likely go to Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who was out in the last preseason game for personal reasons, but looks to be available for this game. So that assignment will go to MKG. And then that leaves Jaylen Brown, 6'7" and 225 pounds of Jaylen Brown, guarding or going up against Malik Monk. And that is, that's a little worrisome, I think. I think you'd much rather have Lamb do that. Or would you be surprised, David, if Steve Clifford decided to start Dwayne Bacon instead, to get someone with the size and the sort of the similar game to Jeremy Lamb in with the starters early, and then lean on Monk heavily for the rest of the game, just to kind of keep the team in that groove. Double M15 on the chat saying, what up, Ness? What up, Double M15? We're talking about Malik Monk, the possibility of starting him in this preseason game because there will be no Nick Batum, possibly no Jeremy Lamb. He's listed as doubtful for this game. What do you think, David? I think maybe you could look. He hasn't been announced as a starter quite yet, so I think there might be some thought of giving a guy like Dwayne Bacon, who has the similar size to Lamb, the starter role for tonight, to keep that groove going to get ready for the regular season.
And has played well. I mean, the fact that that's even a thought, even in your mind, is positive. I think for the play of Bacon, right, and Monk. I mean, they've both played relatively well in this preseason, especially Bacon being a second-round guy. But, I mean, I would ask this: who is more likely, or who is closer to being a starter in the regular season, right? You still think it would be Bacon?
No, then I look, if you're down that many, I think you play your best players at some point, and you go with Malik Monk. So
from that standpoint, I would lean towards throwing Monk out there if you're going to start one of the two and just give them a look. I mean, it's preseason. I think they're both going to play a ton tonight, regardless, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, it's with all of these injuries piling up, I think they're going to continue to get those reserves as many opportunities as possible to make sure that they are ready. And, Dwayne Bacon, 5.7 points this preseason and averaging 5 rebounds as well. He's really hitting the boards.
Yeah. One thing I loved about Malik Monk's game the other night and pairing him with someone, Doug, was pairing him with Cody Zeller, because we've talked about the screens and the space that Zeller can create for Kemba Walker and other shooters. And I think for having him out there with Monk is going to do wonders for him just as a rookie. Any little extra space he can get. And you saw it on some of those ball screens, right? Like Monk would flare out and just have a wide open look relatively off the screen from Zeller. So I think the more those two can play together, especially early on, that's going to help Monk a lot, because he just knows how to put his body in a good position. to either give the ball back to the ball handler or create more space for the shooter. And in this case, it would be Malik Monk. So, I mean, that's a scenario that I really look forward to seeing. And so having him on that second unit, that would be a plus to do it on that side. I think, regardless, I think they're going to play quite a good bit tonight. So, we'll see. But I like that combination. It helps Monk a lot.
Double M15 on the chat saying if you are playing matchup Bacon, so if you're playing the matchup, go with Dwayne Bacon. If you are looking for the future, Monk's got to get the reps with all of the defenders. Yeah. And then Matthew saying Monk has to start, create a matchup problem for them. Can Brown guard Monk? That's a good. I think that's a good question. You might see each team attacking the other with. Well, I think the Hornets could attack the Celtics both with Monk and Dwight Howard, and they'll certainly look to do that. Now, I wonder about the other end of the floor for the Hornets in terms of defense against the Celtics, because they'll be starting rookie Jason Tatum. He's listed as a probable starter at power forward in place of Aaron Baines. In the last matchup, Clifford does what he often does against the Celtics. He switched Marvin Williams onto Al Horford to guard his outside shooting, his mobility, and had Howard on Baines. Baines went on to light them up from the mid-range. Does Clifford stick with that plan and leave Howard on the springy and quicker Jason Tatum, or do you put Marvin on Tatum and take your chances with Dwight Howard guarding Al Horford's three-point shot? It's going to be a tough decision there for Clifford, don't you think?
Yeah, I think you got to ask Marvin to stay with the quicker guy. Plus, I think you can lay off Tatum, especially at this point from three. At least from what I saw in that first game, he is not that is not there yet. Granted, that's the only preseason Celtics game I've watched, but I think you can give him a little more room. Even then, doesn't that sound weird that you can give him more room than Al Horford? But I think you have to at least step out there and guard Horford from three, because he's shown he can knock it down.
Absolutely. Well, and he has. Horford's a weird beast, because he can hit that three, but the reason I think they put Marvin on him as well is because he's got a good shot, fake, and drive. Like he's really mobile for his size. So you always have to watch out for old Al Horford. Let's see, Double M15 saying also you might want to work on getting the team more and more used to playing with each other. A great point as well. I mean, there's some tough lineup decisions when you're missing your top two options at the starting shooting guard position. You're going to be missing your top two options at the backup point guard position. So listen, whether Monk starts or not in this game, he's going to get plenty of opportunities in this one, probably to run the offense in the second half once again. David M. on the chat saying, this still shot of David is creeping me out a little. Looks like he's looking into the souls of all the Dugaholics. Well, it's better than the phone symbol. It does kind of look like I have your picture mounted on my wall, and you're talking to me.
Another one?
Okay. What else are you watching for in this game, David?
Well, Doug, something last season that killed the Hornets was the three-point defense. They gave up, more three-pointers per game to opponents last year than just about anyone in the league. And I went back and looked. Similarly, in the last preseason, they gave up about the same as what they're giving up now. It's been 30-plus attempts for the Hornets, and that continued into the regular season last year. But comparatively, they're around 20 in the league so far this preseason. Now that rank actually includes some of the foreign opponents that have played, and the NBA stats included some of these foreign teams.
Melbourne,
but
Chinese teams.
Right, exactly. So they did beat some of those. But comparatively last year, they were still at the bottom of the bucket. This year, they're, like I said, around 20th, so not great. We'll have to see how that plays into the season, because I mean, you would imagine three-point attempts are not going to go down, as we continue on in this three-point revolution. But that's certainly something to keep an eye on, because they're still giving up about 30 attempts per game. And, so the Celtics are one of those teams that are going to try and space you out and shoot some threes again, even though, I mean, is Kyrie playing tonight? Or he didn't play the other night, I don't think.
No, well, they rested most of their starters against Philadelphia on Monday. So that's what has me a little bit worried in this game, because I feel like there's a good chance that they could play all of these starters and really use it as a tune-up, a final tune-up, because this is the final game for the Boston Celtics, final preseason game before they hunker down and get ready for their first regular season matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers on opening night. And you wonder, will they use this as a means to just test everything that they would use in a regular season game? And in that case, the Hornets, who are hobbled right now, could be in a lot of trouble. And Gordon Hayward has yet to score in double figures in any of these preseason games. So it just feels like he's primed to really see, stretch the legs out, see what he can do, put the seat all the way down, really go after it. You know what I'm saying? I'm scared.
Well, I wouldn't worry. Well, one thing I've learned, I was really nervous after the first Celtics game, and you helped talk me off the ledge a little bit. And then I saw a lot of these other preseason scores trickling out, like the Warriors getting beat and the Cavs getting beat. And then I remembered it is just preseason. So even though this one's on national TV, and even though we're getting closer to the regular season, it's still preseason. So we want to see some improvement, and we want to see some things going well. But given all the injuries and the issues going on with the Hornets, I just don't want to see any more injuries. And I'd like to see, Monk play well, and I'd like to see a little shot of life out of Frank, to be honest with you, because I think
you're segueing.
Okay. Do you want me to take it? Do you want to
take
it?
Well, let me just say one more thing to watch in this game. Watch out for G League MVP Abdel Nader. He had a great game against the Hornets in that first preseason matchup. And one of my draft heartthrobs, Semi Ojeleye, also plays for the Celtics, and he hit 3 3-pointers against the Philadelphia 76ers in that last game. So Boston's going to have much better depth than they did last season, and watch out for those two, especially in the second half. Want to take a quick second before we get to that segment that David was segueing to tell you about something we started here on Locked On Hornets. It's a way for you to get access to more Hornets content, support the show, and it starts at only $1 a month. It's called Patreon. The website is patreon.com/LOH. For those that are in on this YouTube live stream a little late, I just want to tell you what I said at the top of the show, which is we are giving away 2 free tickets to tonight's game against the Boston Celtics, 2 lower-level seats. It's for Patreon members only. I've posted in the Patreon page. All you have to do is reply to it, and you'll be entered to win. And if you're an LSC member of our Patreon subscribers, you will get double entries into this giveaway. So go check that out now. It's just one of the many benefits you get as a member of The Nest, as one of our Buzzamaniacs. So head over to patreon.com/LOH and sign up if you haven't already. Okay. So as you were saying, David, you're going to be watching Frank Kaminsky closely in this game. And I think it's, there's 2 preseason games left. We hammered that out at the beginning of the show. And I think it's a good time to sort of start to talk about things that we want to see change before the regular season. And I will let you go first, David. You're looking at Frank Kaminsky right now.
Yeah, Doug, he was a guy that we kind of targeted as a potential breakout guy on this roster. I may be rethinking that, maybe shifting that over to Lamb based on what we've seen in the preseason. But shooting just 10% from 3 so far in this preseason. Obviously a small sample size, but look,
1 of 10.
Not 1 of 10. And the thing we've seen from Frank, I think, throughout his career is that, it takes him a little while to get adjusted, whether it's lineup-wise or whether it's, playing combination-wise or just getting a feel for things. And a lot goes into that. I mean, the injury didn't help last year, but, man, you wanted to see a little bit better performance in the preseason from Frank, because he's going to be a key guy, and shooting 10% from 3. Obviously, I don't think he's going to do that, but you'd like to see him knock a few down, because that was a big thing for him last year, trying to get some consistency, especially from 3. And that's well below what we've seen from him in his career. And take what you will for defensive rating, but that ain't good either. He's 114 defensive rating right now, according to NBA.com. By far the worst of any preseason or any career spots for Frank. So hopefully he can get adjusted. Again, last time I think there was a lineup changes, playing with Marvin, playing with a different group of guys, but it's his 3rd year. He needs to be able to adjust, I think, a little bit better and get going here, don't you think?
Yeah, and David L. Saying it's a huge year for Frank, wondering if we've seen what he is, and that's what we're going to get. And I think that's the big concern, especially heading into this season when, he's had a fully healthy offseason. There are no excuses. There are no issues physically. There's nothing to lean on. So everyone's going to be looking at his performance and making judgments based on that alone. And it is preseason, so we'll caution against any shooting numbers. I mentioned Kemba's shooting numbers last preseason were awful, and he went on to have one of the best shooting seasons of his career. Players use this time to get ready, to try things. We've seen Frank Kaminsky try his Dirk Nowitzki turnaround on one leg shot. He hit it against Miami. He's hit it a few times. He's missed it a few times. But you use this time to try things. And Frank has played in a different playing group in the last game and didn't really get involved in the offense much. And I think that's what would worry me as we get into this in these last two regular season games. If he starts to retreat, if he starts to stop taking 3-point shots, that would be concerning to me as we look. That definitely, I think he can't go 1 for 4 again. I think now that he'll be back in his normal role, he'll need to be more involved in the offense. So I really hope MKG gets back so that Frank can head back to the bench, get those looks that he got in Detroit, where he was 1 of 8 from beyond the arc, and start to knock them down. And I think he can. And for Hornets fans, they're certainly hoping that he will. Let's see, what's mine? For me, it's first quarter defense. So they gave up 32 points to Detroit. They gave up 36 points to the Heat. It's time to see the defense start to organize, David. There were high expectations set by head coach Steve Clifford for this defense, wants them to be a top 5 defensive team. That
not there.
They're not there right now, and it starts in the first quarter. It starts with the starters, and certainly, really, you lose Nick Batum, who wasn't the anchor necessarily of your defense, could be a lockdown defender when he wanted to be, could loosen up on defense when he wanted to as well. But Jeremy Lamb has looked good defensively. He's gotten some mentions from Steve Clifford about sort of looking better on defense. So they hope to get him back and healthy. But once, and again, I'm less worried about this until we see the starters and the rotations play their normal amount of minutes. But at the same time, that's why I point to first quarter defense, because the first quarter of these preseason games, we've seen rotations be pretty much what they're going to be, and I think they need to get off to a better start defensively. I'll certainly be looking for that tonight against the Celtics. They actually did a good job against the Celtics in that first matchup, held them to 22 points, got physical with Kyrie, and were able to prevent MKG was very aggressive with Gordon Hayward, so we'll see if that trend continues as well. So, David, that's really it for me. Final thoughts before we head into this home preseason game. This is exciting. We get to see the Hornets. They'll be in uniform with our eyeballs. We'll get to see on national TV or in the arena. We're going to get to see Dwight Howard in a Hornets uniform. That's going to be...
That's right. I'll be interested to see the reaction from the crowd, too. The opening or the preseason practice was a good turnout.
Preseason's weird. Preseason's weird with turnout.
I'm just saying, maybe there'll be a little bit of a jolt finally playing.
Even some of these bigger markets.
It's going to be a sellout.
Yeah, well, even some of these bigger markets, it's weird. People just see preseason and they go, I'm not going. I can't get out there. And it's an uptown arena, so it's a little, it's an effort, to get there. So,
yeah, but the team store's opening. I mentioned that earlier.
It's true. Fan shop opening tonight. That's very true. New fan shop. And so, get your gear. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow with a post-game report on this game. I'm going to be in the arena tonight covering this game, so check us out on Instagram at Locked On Hornets, and then on Facebook. I'm going to try to do a little live pregame thing. I'm not making any promises because I don't know. This is all new for me, so I gotta figure things out when I get there. But I'm going to try to do something on Facebook. I'm going to be posting stuff on Instagram, so you want to make sure. Double M15 is going to be there with the newbie, with the newborn. All right, make sure you got some of these right here, some of these headphones. Protect those ocular nerves. Okay. Enjoy the preseason game tonight, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Hornets here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Follow us on Twitter as well, and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. Just search Locked On Hornets. We're back again tomorrow. For David, I'm Doug. For David's creepy picture, I'm Doug. Go Hornets. Go America. Beat the Celtics. Let's swarm Charlotte. All right, we're clear.
Cool stuff, bro.